everybody, it's Lydia here. A couple of weeks ago I was invited to a vloggers event in London for the release of In Order to Live by Yeon-mi, and I'm going to put my hands up first off and say this isn't normally the kind of book that I would talk about on my channel, but having read this book and having met Yeon-mi and heard her speak and talk about her experiences, I really want to talk about these books a whole lot more. Now, for those of you who don't know, Yeon-mi is a North Korean defector, and this book is about her experiences both living in North Korea under the current regime and her life since she has left. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is a really easy read. It's not. It touches on things that are simply horrific and that you just, as a human, you can't fathom it and you can't put it into perspective. It's very difficult when you're reading this book to actually realise and recognise that this happened. This happened to a person, and this has happened to many people. Yeon-mi's experience is not an individual experience. This has happened to so many people and is still happening to so many people right now, and I think the idea of that is just plainly terrifying. Honestly, I'm finding it quite difficult to talk about this book. I can sit here and tell you that you should read this book and about what happens in this book and about how when I read it, it was horrible to read and I teared up on many occasions, and I wouldn't wish any of what Yeon-mi and her family went through on anyone. But those words seem kind of frivolous, because I'm sitting here and I'm perfectly aware of the fact that I have lived a privileged life, and that the very fact that I can sit here and talk to you and express my own opinions shows that I have had a privileged life, and so it's very difficult to talk about this book. But one thing that I got from reading this book, and I got from meeting Yeon-mi in particular, was the importance and the freedom that we have in being able to express our opinions and being able to have opinions. One of the things that Yeon-mi mentioned in this book was that when she was, you know, escaping to freedom, she didn't really know what freedom was, and that says so much about the life, if you could call it that, under this regime. When I came to write my Goodreads review for this book, I honestly didn't know what to write. I sat down and I was going to write a review as I write all my reviews. I was going to say, you know, what I liked about it, what I, you know, didn't like about it, etc, etc. But I couldn't, because nothing I said really summed up how I felt about this book, and the only thing I ended up writing was something along the lines of, every once in a while a book comes along that everyone should read, and this is one of those. And that's exactly how I feel, and that's exactly what I want to express to you today, but I'm doing a very bad job of it. If I were to express my opinion, I'd say it's really important, it's an amazing book and you should read it. But I think, I just think, regardless of what I think about it, I think it's a book everyone should read. And that's kind of why I want to read more books like this, and why I want to talk about more books like this, learning about humanity and what we can achieve and what we have the ability to survive, and what we should do to change the lives of people who don't have the freedom that we have. That's what I got from this book. That's honestly what I got from this book, and actually that's a really appropriate feeling I think to have about this book, because Yeon-mi herself talked a lot about books that she has read that have really helped change her point of view about the world since she has left North Korea, because when she left, she, you know, she'd been living under this regime her whole life, and she had certain opinions that just weren't her own, but they'd been kind of forced on her by the regime, and it took her a long time to get over those, and she talks about how books and reading help to get over those. And so I want to actually read you a little bit from the book where she talks about the importance of reading and books and how that can make us more human. I was starting to realise that you can't really grow and learn unless you have a language to grow within. I could literally feel my brain coming to life, as if new pathways were firing up in places that had been dark and barren. Reading was teaching me what it meant to be alive, to be human. I read literary classics like Catcher in the Rye, Lord of the Flies and Tolstoy's short stories. I fell in love with Shakespeare, but it was discovering George Orwell's Animal Farm that marked a real turning point for me. It was like finding a diamond in a mountain of sand. I felt as if Orwell knew where I was from and what I had been through. The animal farm was really North Korea, and he was describing my life. I saw my family in the animals, my grandmother, mother, father, and me too. I was like one of the new pigs with no ideas. Reducing the horror of North Korea into a simple allegory erased its power over me. It helped set me free. And I feel like that quote really sums up this book, and just the importance of books in general, and that we read books like this because they really help expand our viewpoint on the world. Yeah, that is it for me today. I will see you again soon, but until then, bye!